So we have started a new chapter in the previous class, that is upthrust in fluids, and I have explained about the term buoyancy, buoyant force, and upthrust. So now today we'll discuss with the condition in which a body floats or sink when a body is placed in a fluid. So that is the first point is there, that is the condition for a body to float or sink in a fluid. Second one is the characteristics property of upthrust. Now let us discuss the first point, conditions for a body to float or sink when the body is immersed in a fluid. Now, when a body is immersed in a fluid, that is in a liquid or water, two forces act on it. One force is the weight of the body, and this weight of the body acts vertically downwards, and weight of the body is calculated W. And another force is there, that is upthrust, or also known as the buoyant force, written as FB. So now the two forces act on a body when a body is immersed in a fluid. Okay, and these two forces are, one is the weight of the body which acts vertically downwards, and other one is the upthrust which acts vertically upward. So now when the upthrust will increase, the upthrust, that is the upward force, will increase when the body which has been submerged or immersed in a liquid increases. Okay, like I'll give you the example. You take a bucket of water and you take a plastic mug. You take it. You just keep the plastic mug in the water. Okay, you just put it in the water. That means the large portion of that plastic mug or a jug, it remains above the surface of the water. Only a small portion of our body will immerse in the water. Now what you do, now you start placing this example already I gave you in the previous class, okay, about pushing a tin can and a cork. The same example will follow it. Now when you push this jug or a mug, when you start pushing down, what will happen? The mug or a jug, they start immersing inside the liquid. So when they immerse inside a liquid, the upthrust becomes more. That means the upthrust increases when the submerged portion of the body increases. So that means when you go on immersing that plastic mug or a jug inside the water, the upthrust increases. And finally, now when you place that, and automatically you will find that when you go on placing that jug or a mug, you will feel some force acting on your hand, and that force is the upward force which is given by the fluid, by the liquid. So as long as you take that jug inside the water, and when you immerse the entire jug inside the water, more upthrust will be exerted. And once you leave your hand, the jug will at once it comes up. That means in that case what will happen? The upthrust will become more. So therefore the upthrust will increases when a body is submerged inside the fluid. So more the body is submerged in the fluid, more will be the upthrust. And finally what will happen? You go on placing or you go on pushing that jug or a mug inside the water, and when it completely immersed, and later on when it goes at the base or at the bottom, then what will happen is that in that case the weight of the body becomes equal to the upthrust. Okay, so when it completely sinks, when it completely goes, you are pushing that jug, okay, you go on pushing, you keep on applying the force, okay, downward force you keep on applying, that is external force from your hand, you keep on applying, and finally you put that jug or a mug at the bottom of the container which is filled with water. So when you push it down, in that case what will happen? The weight of the body will become equal to the upthrust. So as soon as, now after that what to do? you just remove your hand, immediately what will happen again? What this jug will rise. This jug will rise up again. That means you have withdrawn the force here. Okay, so that means already the weight of the jug is acting downwards, and on the top of that you are applying your external force from the hand also. That means the downward force in that case, though the upward force is more, but you are pushing that jug inside the water, and the downward force will become more there rather than the up thrust. But once you leave your hand again, that jug will come up. So in that situation, okay, what will happen is that when at the beginning, when you keep the jug, just when you drop the jug on the water, it will remain on the water, it will float. Major portion of the jug will outside the water and small portion will be inside the water. Then you place that jug with your hand and you start immersing. When you start immersing, what will happen? The upward force goes on increasing, and finally when you take that jug and dip inside the container at the bottom, at the base of that container, in that case the weight of the jug will become equal to the up thrust. That means the upward force become equal to the weight of the body. Okay, so in that case, in that way, what will happen is that the up thrust will increase. So up thrust goes on increasing when the body gets submerged in a fluid. And the next point is also there, where a body which floats or sinks also depends upon the density. Okay, the density, it also depends on the density of the fluid. So more the density of the fluid, more will be the up thrust. More the density of the fluid, more will be the up thrust. So that is why in a sea water, the density of the sea water is more than that of the river water. So that is why it is stated that the huge ship, okay, they float in sea water. Now why do they float in sea water is that because the upward force, which we call it as up thrust or the buoyant force, is more. So why that up thrust or the buoyant force is more? Due to the presence of dissolved salt. So due to the presence of dissolved salt, the density of the sea water is more. So due to the density of the sea water, the body will float. So floating and sinking also, it depends upon another factor, that is about the density. Okay. So this is how the body will sink. Now there are the three conditions. Now first one is there when the upward force is greater than the weight of the body, or when the upward force is equals to the weight of the body, then the body will float. The body will float. So when that means FB is greater than W, which means that the upward force is greater than the weight of the body. Here the upward force is equal to the weight of the body. So when the upward force is greater than the weight of the body, what will happen is that the body will float. The body will float. But how the body will float is that the major part of the body will remain under the water or under the fluid. Okay. So in that case, what will happen? The body will float, but the major part of the body will remain immersed inside the fluid. Okay. Here also, when the up thrust is equals to the weight of the body will float. But here, what will happen is that the small portion of the body will remain inside the water. Example, you can take a feather or a cock. Okay, feather or a cock, what will happen? You will just drop it in the water, they will float. Only a small portion will remain inside the water and a larger portion will remain just above the water. So in that case, the upward force is equal to the weight of the body. In both the cases here, the body will float. Second one, the third one is that if the upward force is less than the weight of the body, that means if the weight of the body is more, if the weight of the body is more than the up thrust, then the body will sink. So you take a stone or coin, you just drop it in the water, what will happen? The stone or a coin, they will sink. Now why do they sink? Is that the weight of the stone or a coin is greater, or it is more than the up thrust. So the upward force is less and the downward force is more. So when the downward force or the weight of the body is more than the up thrust, then the body will sink. So this way, the three conditions are there in which the body will float. Okay, the two conditions are in which the body will float, and the floating is also depends upon the surface area which has been immersed in a fluid. Okay, so the larger surface area may immerse in a fluid, or the small surface area may immerse in fluid, depending upon the upthrust and the weight of the body. And finally, the other one is the body will totally immerse. The body will sink in a fluid when the upward force is less than the weight of the body. So this is how, these are the conditions in which the body will float or sink in a fluid. And the second one is the characteristic property of the upthrust. Now, what are the characteristic properties of upthrust? Is number one characteristic, the upthrust is always directed in upward direction. Okay, the upward force or the upthrust is active in an upward direction. And the second one is the larger the volume of the body immersed in a fluid. More the volume of the body immersed in a fluid, greater will be the upthrust. Okay, so the first example which I have given you. Okay, that is the first example here. So larger the volume means you take a body and you put it into a fluid. If the volume of that body immersed in a fluid is more, that means the larger portion, the larger volume of the body will remain under the water. Okay, and small portion of the body will remain above the water, above the surface of the water. So larger the volume of the body immersed or submerged in the fluid, greater will be the upthrust. So the second condition is here, larger the volume of the body immersed in the fluid, greater is the upthrust. And the first one is the upthrust is always directed or always acts in the upward direction. And the other one, number 3 is here, that is for the same volume of the body inside the fluid, more the density. Same volume of the body inside the fluid, the volume of the body will be same. Okay, inside the fluid, greater the density of the fluid, greater will be the upthrust. So the third one is greater the density of the fluid, greater will be the upthrust. So there are the three conditions in which the three characteristic properties of the upthrust. Thank you.